Welcome everyone to week number 2 in Biology 120. We've made it through our first week. You did your discussion, you did your journal entry about what it means to be alive, and you learned about what biology stands for and what you study in biology and that sort of thing. So let's see what we've got going on this week. As always, I do a quick little review of what we looked at last week first. So last week you looked at the scientific method and you gave us an example of how you have used the scientific method in your everyday life, because we all have. And I explained to you that it's a little more complicated than what you learned in the 7th grade. There's a lot more to it, the scientific method, but the basic steps are the same. And at the end, after you've done your research, you write it up, you present it to your peers in the form of a written journal article, and you go through the peer review process. That's extremely important. You also learned about the characteristics of life, like growth and development, evolution, reproduction, all those sorts of things. And remember what we said, that these are the characteristics of life, and every organism has to have all of them. So that's very important. And so that's what leaves viruses out, because they cannot do several of those things that are considered characteristics of life. All right, for this week, you have 2 chapters to look over in your textbook. Remember, the OpenStax Biology 2nd edition textbook is free, and online. You don't have to sign up for it or anything. Just Google it and you'll find it. Skim through chapters 2 and 3. If I were you, I wouldn't spend an inordinate amount of time in chapters 2 and 3, but do skim through them and look at what the chapters tell you about inorganic molecules and organic molecules. Organic molecules just means molecules that make up organisms. Organic molecules always contain carbon and hydrogen, and then usually some other atoms of some other elements like oxygen, nitrogen, phosphorus, etc. The 2 important inorganic molecules that you want to concentrate in that first chapter is water, H2O, because that is necessary for life. So it tells you that it must be extremely important, and it is extremely important in cells, not just in organisms. You know that you have to drink water in order to survive, but it's necessary down on a cellular level. So we're going to get to that in just a minute. This is very important for this one assignment that you're working on this week. And then you're going to take a look at the element carbon and how important it is. And the reason that it is so important and that it's the backbone of organic molecules is because it forms 4 bonds. It can form 4 bonds with other atoms or molecules. And that means that it can make very complex, gigantic molecules. Many different kinds, because it forms these 4 bonds, and the bonds go off in all different directions, and there can be double bonds and triple bonds between some atoms and molecules. So carbon makes very complex and very big molecules, and that's what's necessary for life. Of course, you can't have all molecules in an organism being simple. That doesn't make any sense. You're going to look at the 4 groups of organic molecules and their functions. So carbohydrates, you know about these through your diets, right? Everybody's talking about these with the new year. Low carb diet, right? Lipids, fats, oils, and waxes. Proteins, extremely important because they help to build up muscles and carry out so many functions in bodies, including being enzymes, which carry out all the work that's done in cells. Nucleic acids. Nucleic acids are important for genetics, of course. These are the molecules of heredity. They determine the traits that you have, but some of them also are energy molecules. So take a look at those 4 groups of organic molecules and look at their functions, basic functions. You can do this in the module overview, introduction, one of those. It's in that section, so you can read about those there. Read the module 2 overview, that's where it is, where the functions are for the organic molecules, because you're going to need that. So then, what do you have to do this second week? You have discussion board postings. Remember, the initial post is due by Thursday. The 2 response posts are due by Sunday evening, before midnight. Everything's before midnight. Your initial post, you are going to discuss the importance of macromolecules. All macro means is big. The macromolecules, those organic molecules that we just talked about, carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, nucleic acids. Okay, those. The importance of them and water in cells, not in organisms, in cells. Because yes, they're important to us as organisms, but the only reason that they're important to us is because they're so important for the functioning of our cells. So we need to get down on the cellular level and find out why we need those macromolecules and why we need water. Water is tremendously important. For one thing, it absorbs all the excess heat that's produced by all the chemistry that's going on in our cells. It's a solvent. Things dissolve in it. There's lots of reasons that water is important. So you need to look through that, read over that in chapter 2, I believe that is, and discuss that. And you're also going to answer the question, if you were given this equation, food, that's those macromolecules again, plus water, plus some factor X equals life, what would you consider X? And we always get some interesting ideas for this one. So this will be interesting to see what you think factor X is. And it's just an opinion, so you can't be wrong. Well, I guess you could be wrong. But anyway, like if you said food plus water plus the internet equals life. Yeah, I don't think that would do. Anyway, it is sort of an opinion anyway. And then your 2 responses are about nucleic acids. And if they're important in diets, and if they are, then why are they not listed on food labels? Because they aren't. I'll give you a hint right now when you start looking at your food labels. There's nothing that says nucleic acids. It's important to look at the structure of a nucleotide, which is a building block of nucleic acids, to figure out why you don't have nucleic acids on food labels. Okay, that's just a hint. Okay, so you've got the discussion board postings. You've also got a journal entry on the properties of carbon. I already mentioned how important carbon is as a backbone of organic molecules. Because what? Forms 4 bonds with other atoms or molecules and makes very large, very complex macromolecules, right? Okay, so you're going to look at the properties of carbon and the link between fossil fuels and carbon dioxide, and the fact that this is causing global warming because the excessive carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is holding in heat and causing all kinds of problems, also ocean acidification, things like that. So you're going to write a journal entry about these questions. Don't forget the first question because it's sort of off by itself, and then you have 3 more under a paragraph. So don't forget that first question about carbon. That is due by Sunday evening. Watch Reliable Sources video. That's pretty good. And you probably know it. But anyway, take a look at it. Also look at the Shapiro Library website that there's a link to this week, because that will also tell you about what makes a good resource for you to use. And the reason that you're looking for this is because this week you need to decide what your topic is going to be for the rest of the term. So let me get to that. Oh, by the way, this is a picture of dolphins strand feeding off the coast of South Carolina where I live. Dolphins work together in a pod or whole group to herd fish in their schools up onto the shore. They force them up onto the shore, and then the dolphins come up and strand on their right sides always and grab fish that they have flung out of the water. They do this cooperatively, and it is a learned behavior, which is interesting. Mothers pass this on to offspring as the offspring grow older. And it is a very successful way of fishing. It's a very cool thing to experience and to see. So I just wanted to show you a picture of that. All right. So then let's take a look at the final project topics. So here's a list of them. They are in this module 2. So take a look at them. Which one do you want to cover this term? Because you're going to. Let's take a quick look at them, and I can give you an idea about some of them. So population ecology. This is the study of populations. So that's members of a species that live together in a particular time and place, and how they affect their ecosystem. So if I were going to do a project on population ecology, I think I would get more specific than that, and I would choose some particular species that's in my area that I'm interested in. So, for example, coyotes. Coyotes are running rampant in my state right now, and they have a big effect on lots of different species, including deer, including all kinds of wildlife, but also pets in subdivisions and neighborhoods. So I might want to look at the coyote population in South Carolina and how large it is and what it affects, including human beings, that sort of thing. Air pollution, you know what that is. And wow, was this evident how much air pollution there is when we had COVID lockdown and you looked at the skies around cities when people weren't driving and the air was crystal clear. It was just absolutely amazing. So that's a pretty cool topic. Water pollution. Wow, there's a lot of it. We do a lot of this. We're trying to do better. There are lots of ways that we try to do better to keep silt, if nothing else, out of our waterways like our rivers. And that's why you see all these screening types of things around construction areas, and you see retention ponds and all that sort of thing. The energy crisis and alternative forms of energy, solar, electric vehicles, all that sort of thing. Eutrophication is a natural process where a body of water ages out over time. So this could be a lake, it could be a pond, could be a river. Eutrophication is interesting. The human population in November of 2022, the human population hit 8 billion. And by the year 2050, we expect to have 9 billion people on the planet. So it is just growing by leaps and bounds. Genetic modification, we do all types of this already. We manipulate organisms that we want to change in all different ways for research, for growing them as food products, that sort of thing. So that's a great topic. Deforestation, terrible problem, especially like in the Amazon, but all across the United States too, because there's so much construction going on. So what's the effect of deforestation? Is this good for us? There is a huge push to plant more trees, and I think this is a wonderful idea. I have lots of trees on my property because I love them so much, and I would not cut them down unless I had to. Biodiversity is important for ecosystems. You've got to have lots of different species and lots of members of each of those species to make your ecosystem healthy. And along with that goes endangered species. And so you could choose one or the other here. You might choose one particular endangered species. I remember, oh my goodness, in 2012, I was out at the beach by myself. I was watching for dolphin strand feeding. I was by myself. There was no one else out there. And I looked across the way and I saw my first bald eagle. The bald eagle was swooping down and catching the extra fish that the dolphins had flung up on the shore. And my heart was beating so hard, so fast. It was the first time I'd ever seen a bald eagle. I was so excited. It was on the other side of a waterway, and I had a telephoto lens on. However, I also got in the water, which I shouldn't have done, but I did. I got up to my knees to get as close to it as I could so I could take some pictures. So anyway, that's an endangered species, though it is returning these days. Global warming, climate change, we all know that this is in the news now. Waste management is terribly important, or landfills the way to go. Should we be doing more recycling? Are we adequately doing recycling? That could be part of this. Or a topic of your choice. Now, if you want to choose a different topic from the ones listed here, you must get my okay for it, because it cannot be some off-the-wall topic in biology that nobody else is even interested in. You notice that these are all very big issues in biology today, right? So that's a hint there. So you must have my approval before you move forward. If you're thinking that you want to do something besides any of these, you need to let me know through email, m.sigmon@snhu.edu. A couple of extra ones that I would like somebody to do: microplastics and that type of pollution, because we are finding plastics in the bodies of organisms out in marine environments, and they're going to end up in humans. So I'm just saying, that's going to be a bigger problem in the future, microplastics. Also, light pollution. If you have ever flown in an airplane at night, you know about light pollution, because as soon as you get over a city is just completely lit up. Every parking lot is lit, and all that light is going up into the atmosphere. Also, when I go to the beach, which I just came back from, when you go to the beach and you turn off the headlights on your car, you can see so many stars. Oh my goodness. I cannot see that where I live because there's just too much extra light. So light pollution is important. But if you can think of another topic that you like to do, all you need to do is email me and we can discuss it. Okay? So those are your final project topics that you have to choose from. If you would like to email me after you've chosen one, I would love that. So please do if you would like to. And if you're choosing something different, you have to email me. All right. And last of all, for my tip of the week, jot down a list of things to answer for each assignment. Now, me, I am weird. I use Post-it notes because I can't remember everything that I'm supposed to do. So I'll just jot down a few little things, a few little notes to myself on a Post-it note to make sure that I don't forget any part of an assignment. Okay? If you don't do this and you don't go back and check, you're going to miss something. I'm going to guarantee it. Like that question about the importance of carbon. I'm just saying it's a question off by itself, and if you don't jot that down, you're going to forget about it. Okay, so that's just a tip for you. With that being said, I hope that you have a wonderful week number 2 in Biology 120, and we will be talking to each other. If you need anything, m.sigmon@snhu.edu. I'm here for you. I want you to succeed. I will help you in any way that I possibly can. So I hope you have a great week this week.